I've been overweight since I was 9 years old. I remember when I was a kid, all just doctors telling my parents at least, that I should lose weight, that I could get diabetes, all these things that, of course, if you've been overweight or are overweight, you hear it from people. So eventually I went on, grew up, high school, I was senior year, I was at 340 pounds. And my God, it just I grew so much, and well, I knew why though, and it had a lot to do with my anxiety, or not only that, just I had problems with girls. Of course, I was never, with the girls I liked, I was never a good-looking guy, nor confident. I was scared to talk to girls I liked, just all these things. Eventually, I graduated high school and went into college, and the reality was I just hated myself. I hated every single piece of me. I don't understand why I let myself go through that. And the thing was, it wasn't even like food was my comfort. It was mostly video games or just television, pop culture in general. Like, I wish that my life was a lot like what I would see on TV. And that's how I would want my life to be perceived at times. By the time I was in college, I was at 410 pounds. I went to the doctors, and the doctors told me, you gotta lose weight. You have to. And I never cared. The reality is, I didn't even want to be alive. If I could, I would wish that I could dream of a world where I wasn't alive. Eventually, well, go back a little bit. Back in high school, I would go to a comic book store every single day that I could remember. Essentially, it was my second home. I would get out of class sometimes at 2:15 since we were able to leave early, and I would go straight to that comic book store because I was so depressed, and the way to get rid of my depression would be to go to this comic book store that I loved so much. And this was back when I was a freshman, and it went on until college. And eventually, when I was 18, I met this girl. Oh my God. For me, she was perfect. Just every single little thing that I liked, she liked. But the reality was, I always got too caught up in my head, and that was the biggest problem. Eventually, me and this girl, we would hang out a lot. We would go to the movies, eat together, just all these things that I can remember. And for me, it was like, oh my gosh, we're dating. She kind of has an interest in me. That's why she's hanging out with me. Because I've never had a girlfriend before, nor did I ever date at that time. So I easily misunderstood a lot of things that one would see it as a friendly gesture, of course. This went on for months. It felt like a year, but I know it wasn't a year. It was months. I was 18, and one day I let her borrow one of my DS's, but I really needed it back. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I could finally tell her that I like her. What I end up doing, I go to the nearest grocery store. I buy her favorite kind of ice cream, and I buy these roses. So I go to her house, and I text her to come outside, and she comes outside, and she gives me the DS, and I tell her to close her eyes. And I take out the flowers, and I take out her favorite ice cream, and I tell her to open her eyes. I tell her, I like you. What do you think of me? Like I said, in my mind, I thought we were going out. This girl had an interest in me. But her response was that she just didn't see me like that. I don't remember what happened after that. I just remember coming into my car happy, for one, because I was able to express myself to her how I felt. But I got home and I cried. Everything just changed that night. I got depressed. My parents had wine at home, and that's what I would drink. I would stay in my room for hours and hours playing video games. I even stopped going to class. That's how bad it got. I wanted nothing to do with the outside world. My job, they talked to me, asking me what's going on, because apparently I was bringing down my work. Not only that, but just my coworkers, I was bringing them down too. My dad bought me training sessions at the gym, and I would go work out at the gym. So this was, of course, during the time that I was going out. And I ended up losing from 410 pounds to 85 pounds, if I remember clearly. But I ended up stopping just because that whole situation that happened, and I just wanted nothing to do with anything anymore. I thought that nothing would change. Eventually, my friend from work, he asks me what's going on. And I didn't want to talk about it, for one, since I already talked about it a lot. And I hated everything. I didn't want to talk to him. But I told him my story. I told him what happened with the girl, how I felt like she was the one, but it didn't end up being like that. After months and months of going out, which wasn't dating, even though I thought it was at the time. And he gave me the greatest advice, because I wanted a girlfriend. I never had a girlfriend. So his advice was, if you want a girlfriend, you need to make the change. And I took that to heart. I take what he told me to heart, but I don't take action on it. I keep in mind what he says, but I just don't do anything about it, because people don't understand that for us who have social anxiety, who have been rejected so long, it takes time for us to do action, to change everything. And essentially, it took me time to want to lose my weight. But like I said, I didn't even want to live. I wanted nothing to do with anything. I hated life itself. That's how bad it was. I buy a membership to the gym, and I start going out 2 times a week or so. Like I said, I was at 380, 85, let's say 80. Why not? Just that we have a precise number. So I started working out, but like I said, I wanted nothing to do with it. I hated going to the gym. It was too much of a hassle. Just all these things that one could think of. All these excuses that one could think of. But I kept remembering her. I kept remembering why not me. Why? What did I do wrong that made her not like me? What's wrong with me? And that's what kept me going. That's what made me want to go, even though I wouldn't go a lot, nonetheless. School started again. And this was spring of 2013, 14, yes. I'm currently at 370 pounds. And I end up taking Japanese language classes. So my friend one day tells me, classmate, he tells me, oh yeah, you should make a pen pal from Japan, and it'll help you with your language and all these things. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I go online that night, and I end up finding a pen pal. And that was undoubtedly, that was a good motivation. We would talk almost every single day. And of course, how I was at least, I ended up falling for her very hard. Even though I've never met the girl, I've never seen her. I've seen pictures, she sent me pictures, and I really wanted to meet her. What ends up happening is that I buy tickets, I'd buy a ticket to go to Tokyo so I could go meet her. But not only that, I also wanted to get out of everything, of all of this that I was going through. I didn't want to be home anymore. The fact that hard rejection with happened just really destroyed me but I was trying to keep myself going nonetheless. That's why I started going to school again. But just going to Tokyo would probably help me feel so much better. Well, just the fact that I was being out, for one. And that gave me even more motivation. Because I had that motivation of, sure, what happened with rejection, like, I need to lose weight so I could get a girlfriend. But eventually came another thing where it's like, I'm going to Tokyo. I don't want this girl to see this fat American, essentially. And I'm sure a lot of people are gonna get mad, but it's true. I didn't want this girl, a pretty girl, to see a fat guy, 370 pounds or so. And I ended up going to the gym more and more. I would go probably 4 or 5 times a week. And that was a lot of cardio, I'm letting you guys know right now. Summer comes, and those 4 or 5 days turn into 6 or 7 days. I would go to the gym every single day because I kept that thing where I don't want to be rejected anymore, and I'm gonna meet this girl. It's crazy because for a lot of people, it's like, oh, you should go to the gym for yourself. And I don't disagree with that. I totally agree if it works for you. But in my case, it didn't work because it's like if I were to do it for myself, I just wouldn't do it at all, if that makes any sense. I didn't care. Like I said, I would rather be dead. I would rather be eating and playing more video games, killing myself, than be here, be alive. I hated everything. So that motivation just, I kept pushing and kept pushing and kept going. And my Tokyo trip came in September. During, 4 months or so, I went down from 370 to 320 pounds. It wasn't a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, that's a lot, that's from 410 to 320. It's a lot, but I'm still overweight. I'm still this obese guy. But I ended up going to Tokyo, and I met her. Eventually, I ended up coming back from Tokyo. I was there for 5 days, and I had no more motivation. The reality was, I stopped going to the gym for a bit, too. I gained. I went from 320 pounds to 330 pounds in 3 months. My motivation, even though I was going to the gym, but it wasn't a lot, my motivation was leaving me. And those thoughts and anxiety came back. I would cry at night because I really hated it. I hated myself, even though it was me that I felt like that. And then one day I talked to my cousin on Facebook, and she tells me, you should travel more, you should go out more. Of course, being a student and having a job that I felt wasn't paying me very much at the time, I was like, I shouldn't do it because it was too much money. But I took that risk. I went, and I booked another trip to Tokyo because this time I wanted to spend it and be there for myself. I wanted to spend it for myself, and I wanted to be there because of me. I need to go find myself, and I couldn't do that where I lived because I had all these things happening. I was, going to school. I was going to work, and I had my parents. I had troubles with my parents. Troubles with my sister at times, and I needed to get away from all of this. Even though I took a 5-day trip to Tokyo, it wasn't enough. In 4 months, I was gonna go back. So I took that motivation of going back, and I kept going to the gym more and more. I pushed and pushed, and I kept losing, and I'm like, I want to be out there. I used that as a motivation for me. Eventually, my Tokyo trip came in April, and I went from 330 all the way down to 280, and it was crazy. I was baffled. It was crazy for me to just have lost that amount of weight, and I was in the 200s. I mean, come on here, seriously. I was never in the 200s when I was a teenager. I wasn't in 200s. I think the last time I was in 200s, I was probably 11, 12 probably. So I went back to Tokyo. And that whole time, it was just me focusing on myself, learning more about myself, getting rid of all these things that I had, trying to get rid of all these things that I had. So when I came back, I was ready to just focus on myself. I was ready to just keep going to the gym and I want to be at 250. I'm ready to be at 250. So I kept working hard and hard. I would go to the gym 7 times a week. By the time August starts, I'm already at 250 pounds. I finally reached my goal that I wanted to be at, that I remember setting. I wanted to be at 250, and it blew my mind. And the reality was, I could have stopped there, but I chose not to. Till this day, I still keep pushing myself. I use everything that I can to motivate myself to do stuff, even though I can motivate myself nonetheless. Looking back at it, and like I said, I was overweight since I was 9 years old, and I currently fit in size 38 pants, and the last time I fit in those was when I was 10 years old. But I gotta keep going. I gotta keep pushing. It's not enough for me to just be where I'm at right now, as much as I would love to stay there, but it's not. And that stuff takes time, but I'm getting rid of it slowly, day by day. And I'm so grateful because now I can do so much more than I could before. But I'm not done, like I said. My current goal is to be at least at 200 pounds, and I want to get that surgery to get rid of my loose skin. Oh my goodness, it is awful looking right now, that loose skin, but I gotta keep focusing on my goals. I want to be at 200 pounds. I bought my ticket and I'm gonna do Tough Mudder too. That's another thing. It's just these are motivations for me. And maybe you're overweight, or maybe you have social anxiety, or maybe you have depression, all these things, and it's possible to get out of those things. Like I said, for me, my social anxiety, even though I still have a little bit of it, I push myself every single day to talk to at least one person that I don't know. My depression, I can assure you that for sure is gone. I'm no longer depressed, even though a month ago or so, I got a hard rejection from a girl I really liked. But that depression's gone. My thing is, you gotta keep moving forward. You gotta keep pushing through. It's possible. I'm letting you know it's possible. It's crazy as it sounds. No matter what weight you're at, it's possible. I think the final thing I should probably leave it as. And it's crazy because it sounds so weird, but it's true. Be the person you always wanted to be. Like every single day, I am being fit. I am crazy social, even though I still believe I have a little bit of social anxiety. Be the person that you always wanted to be. If you're tired of being where you are, that first step. It doesn't have to be a hard rejection. It doesn't have to be something that happened in your family. It's just that first step of where you're like, hey, I want to lose weight. Right there. You're doing it. And go for it. Never forget that.